What's going on, everybody? Welcome to EdgeWorks Knife Studio. I changed the name one more time just to throw the knife part in there so there's no confusion. I told you to bear with me while we get this figured out, and I hope that that's it. But I appreciate you guys stopping by. I've got this wonderful new Tojiro professional series in R2 steel. It is the Santoku. Apparently I've got a thing for Santokus lately, but this was the least expensive of the bunch. 165mm or 170mm, I apologize. Like I said, R2 steel. It is stainless cladded, so we're gonna give it a whirl today. I've heard that, you know, first of all, let's put this out there. I've never ever handled, dealt with, whatever, R2 steel before. Okay, R2, also called SG2, but it is a powder metallurgy stainless steel. So that's just kind of like HAP 40 and all those, right? They're powder steels. They're high-speed tool steels. They do have great edge retention, but like, you know, ZDP 189 is extremely hard to sharpen compared to the other steels. HAP 40 is not extremely hard to sharpen as ZDP is, but it is harder than, let's say, Shirogami 2, right? This falls in the same category of harder to sharpen than standard carbon steels, from what I understand, but it's not hard to sharpen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Naniwa 400 grit, because I'll show you here in the GoPro real quick, and I'll give you a closer look at this thing. You've heard me mention this before. This is just a critique and something that just drives me crazy, right? So it doesn't affect performance really, but where your bevel for your edge is here, there's some spots here where it is normal, or what I would consider perfect, and then some points where it gets closer towards the edge. So it's just uneven, that's all. It's thinner down here and wider and thicker down here. It's like that on both sides. And I don't know that it's going to translate in the camera here, but I'll see if maybe, I don't know. But you just have to take my word for it. But get a close look here, and you can see, I'm hoping, the nice clad line. I don't know that you can see that with all the reflections. Let's do this real fast. Believe it or not, low light sometimes helps. Nope, not that low light. Man, this thing is so shiny too, though. that doesn't hurt much. Let's see. There we go. You can kind of see it there. So, yeah. I just had to hold it right, and I had to stand on my left toe while blinking my right eye. Yeah, got a nice little clad line there. And it's blended in kind of with the whole knife. So anyway, but it has the standard Tojiro DP style handle, which is a Western style handle. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's just a handle. This one's actually really comfortable. One of the differences between the DP and the professional series is the handle. I think it's the handle material more than anything. And I don't know if it's just more comfortable. It does have an integrated bolster, but as you can see, it is out of the way of the edge. So you don't have to worry about that when sharpening, which, as we all know, that's a pet peeve, right? It's completely straight, which any Tojiro that you get, I expect it to be. Tojiro's very good about that. You know, some people, like, they kind of shit on Tojiro a little bit, but I've never had a problem with any Tojiro that I've had. I've always gotten my money's worth out of Tojiro. Sometimes more with the carbon steels versions that I have over there. I've gotten more than my money's worth because they were really cheap. You know, the one was like $53, and I think the highest one was like 90, and that's because I bought it from Cutlery and More, which is like highway robbery. Anyway, But yeah, so Tojiro is not a bad company at all. They are mass produced. I'm assuming this is just like the other of this type of line from them is probably stamped. It's Sanmai, so it comes this way, you know. Hitachi Steel or whoever is the proprietor of this steel. I'm assuming Hitachi. They they cold roll it or roll forge it, and you already get the sandwich whenever the blacksmith gets it. In this case, Tojiro. And then what they do is they just have a big sheet of it and they just stamp them out. Bam, bam, bam. You know, you get a lot of knives in no time. Nothing wrong with that, you know, as long as you know that's what you're getting into. There is obviously still some hand finishing process that goes into it. You know, Tojiro's other lines, they do have hand forged lines, but this is not it. So just keep that in mind. This comes from Chef Knives to Go. It's on sale for like $150, I believe. So anyway, we'll get right to it, but I just reminded everybody as well, the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Today is 2 weeks from today is when I'm doing the drawing. The requirement is that you are a subscriber of the channel and that you leave comments. If you don't leave a comment, I can't include you in the drawing because I don't have a way to recognize you with the system that I use to randomly pull names and stuff. There's going to be multiple winners of multiple different items, including carbon steel knives, whetstones, and some other things, strops and whatnot. Just make sure that you are signed up. And again, I'm doing this because you guys got me to 1,000. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. And so I like to give back to you guys. Just one of my ways of showing that I care and appreciate y'all. So let's go ahead and we'll get to the nitty gritty here. Is everybody ready for the 4th of July weekend? I know that I'm ready for the break, right? 3-day weekend for me. Some of you may have to work. You'll notice that I soaked this, right? I usually soak this and the 1000 grit Naniwa Choceras about 2 to 3 minutes. It's probably a little bit longer than 2 to 3 minutes, you know, just now, but it wasn't more than maybe 5 to 6. I do that simply because these are somewhat thirsty, and it's even drinking some water in right now. Not much now, but it would do it significantly more if I didn't soak it just a little bit. It's not a soaking stone, obviously, but that does stop it from absorbing the water that I put on the surface, you know, beforehand. So, because it just gets frustrating, right? So, anyway, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to get rid of this uneven bevel, and we're going to see just how, quote, difficult it is to sharpen R2 here. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to listen to it first. Not that anybody's probably never heard the Naniwa 400 grit, but anyways, Chocera Pro. Make sure I match this bevel at least here. Oh yeah, we Gucci. I'm going to give it a look before I go too far. Real quick look, make sure we're looking good. I don't want to be like scratching too high or anything. Yeah, there's a low spot right there. Looks fine. Do a few more passes, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. Okay, so first impressions, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not hard to sharpen at all. And again, it was said that it's not hard to sharpen this, but I can confirm it is not hard to sharpen. I already have a burr. Like, I have an insane burr. actually. This is one of those burrs because of the type of steel and the color of the steel. You'll be able to see it here. You see it right there off to the left. You can see that. So I mean that's an insane burr. It is not like that at the tip though, but I do have a burr at the tip. I'm looking to make sure it's all kind of even. I'm going to give the tip a little bit more love. And we should be good. I love the way that the Naniwa feels. It's just like my, you know, like I mentioned before with the Kings and stuff. Got that nice chalky kind of feel and the sound, you know. Okay. All right, that does look even. We're going to give it some more long passes here. So yeah, what do you guys have planned for the 4th? Over here, what they've done, you know, in the state of Illinois, where I'm at, I mean, as long as I can remember, they've outlawed fireworks. You cannot possess or shoot off your own fireworks in the state of Illinois. Now, at least down south, because I'm in southern Illinois, nobody cares, and they have, ever since I was a kid, people have bought their own fireworks, like in Missouri or in Indiana, things like Kentucky, and brought them, you know, across the state lines, and like I said, nobody cares. This year, at least in the town that I live in, I don't know if it's statewide or if it's just this county or this town or whatever. They have 100% said, nope, if you get caught shooting off any fireworks this year, you're going to be fined, and possibly other circumstances. So, nope, not today, baby. I'm going to guarantee you, though, people are still going to do it. All right. I am also, by the way, I meant to tell you, I'm going to go with the Morihei 1000 after this, and probably the Shapton. It's the M15 2000 grit, if we get that far. So I forgot to tell you guys that. Oh man, that is so insane. I wanted to do that because I wanted to see that come off of there. Look at those. Ooh, I'm just dumping water everywhere. Good Lord have mercy. We'll get back to the fireworks thing in a minute. That's a nice long piece of burr there. And there's one up here too. So those just come off in one good chunk. Yeah, so for me with the fireworks thing, it makes me think that it's like a push for revenue, you know? I don't know, like maybe the county's hurting or something for some money, and they know that people are going to be shooting off fireworks, so they're going to try and spoil your fun, which I think is stupid, but whatever. That burr is completely removed, top to bottom. That's insane. Oh, there's a piece still. I don't want to dig it in the stone. Do any of you guys live in like counties or towns or whatever where you can't shoot off fireworks? You know, it's for your safety. There's more right there. There we go. Now, I wasn't sure with this R2 if I was going to need to, you know, bust out the diamonds or not. Clearly not. But I was like, maybe, but no. The hardness is 64, just FYI. But I mean, it doesn't feel like it's that hard. I kind of wonder almost if maybe this edge wasn't burned a little bit, you know, because they're going to use, with these anyway, I'm assuming, this is, again, this is me guessing because I know nothing about the professional series, but I'm assuming they use a machine to mass sharpen all these. I know, again, they're hand forged line, that I think they hand sharpen those, or they at least have someone on a wheel that's sharpening them, you know what I mean? Like how they do with a piece of wood, and they'll strap them to it, whatever, and then they'll do that by hand that way. I don't know if they do that or not, but I'm just saying I consider that hand sharpening still. But yeah, I'm sure this is done on a machine. You know, they got those machines that they can also load these in. They'll feed them in, and they'll just burp, burp, burp. They'll do bevels and all kinds of stuff. The cat's letting you know she's here, by the way. Okay. I do believe we're good. I'm gonna double check here. Can't see the bevel. Can't see the burr on this side like I could the other, but the other was the very first one. And again, I'm telling you, that edge could have been burnt. It's very, very possible. What I am going to do real fast here is I'm just going to dry this off, and I'm going to look and make sure that it looks like this bevel is even, because that drives me friggin' nuts. It appears to be. So I'm going to just give it some long strokes, then we're going to move on to the 1000. I love my Morihei's. I got a Tojiro Deba coming. I'm excited about. It is a hand-hammered version, I believe is what they called it. It is a sushimi finish, so it does have, you know, some hand finishing to it at a minimum. So it's got that nice hammered look. Again, I'm just double checking this, making sure that I got even bevel syndrome. You know, the tip leaves a little to be desired. I'm going to hit that real fast here. Adonma sent me an interesting video of a gentleman who is starting a knife sharpening channel. So glad to have someone else in the game. But he did a technique of deburring, and he used a dry dish sponge, you know, like when you do your dishes. And he used the bristly part on the back. I'm going to do deburring strokes, just a couple, because there's not really much of a burr on there right now. I knocked it off. Anyway, so yeah, it's completely dry, and he used the bristly, you know, Brillo side, and it was it was plastic, right? The plastic, whatever those sponges are, and that's what he used to deburr. Now I can see how that would work, right? Because he was doing like chink, chink, chink like this on the Brillo side of it. I'll get one. I'll show it to you real quick. And I can see how that would work to a degree. All right, he had kind of it was more of a loose, bristly one, but he was going like shwunk, 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 shwunk. I just don't know, like, I mean, clearly it worked, you know, so I'm not knocking that, but I mean, what do you guys think about that? Because my thoughts are it was the same thing as like lightly drawing it through like a piece of wood, you know. So what you're going to do there is you're going to rip off essentially pieces of the burr from the metal that's hanging. Now, if you have a stubborn burr, that's not coming off. I don't care. Nothing against him or anything. But if you have a really stubborn burr, like that Victorinox, for example, you're going to get some of it off. You're not going to get it all. And it's generally, like I said, the same thing as drawing your knife through a piece of wood. So, I don't know how good it is, or like if it's efficient across the board. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think. All right, let's do our Morihei 1000. Show you guys there. I don't know why I didn't. The good old Morihei. I love this thing. I love all of my Moriheis. Freshly flattened, because I used the crap out of it the other day. Well, like I said, I used it for the those Tosa knives. All right, let's go ahead. Give her a good listen. I don't know if I've done this 1000 Morihei yet. Maybe I have. Yeah, I had to. You know, as I said too, these Tojiros are nice and thin. So you're always going to have that good performance. For slicing, for sure. It's nice and, you know, it's quiet. It's got that kind of a, like we talked about the other day, that glassy, that nice and glassy kind of sound. Very smooth, you know. You know that you're sharpening, but it's a pleasure to sharpen with, because of just how smooth and like inviting almost that it is. It's not an overly aggressive 1K. It's almost like it's a true 1K. Because, you know, I own and I have experienced aggressive 1Ks. And they're great if you need to bring something back. But, you know, sometimes you don't want to like overdo it. When you're wanting just a nice, gentle 1K, well, this would be it. And that sounds very confusing, because it's going to make it sound like this isn't really cutting. It is. There's a whole bunch of metal here. It just isn't tearing it off, you know, I guess, is a good way to put it. Trying to make it sound like something more than it is. Talking too much. Making sure I'm maintaining my proper lines here. It does appear as such. All right, give it just one more set of passes here. Been doing my best to stay out of this heat. I know I was out there forging just the other day, but man, it's like I gotta forge in the evenings when the sun goes down, or it's starting to go down, because it's just unbearable out there. All right, hit the other side. Yeah, this is a very minimal burr. This tells me too, because even though this Morihei is, it's smoother, velvety, whatever, it would still raise a good sized burr. This is telling me that the edge that was on this knife to begin with was burned. I can promise you that. Just based on what I'm experiencing right now. Well, and what was left after doing the 400 on the other side. Okay. Nice and flipped. Okay. How many of you sharpen off the factory edge right away? Or how many of you use it for a little bit and see how it works? I used to, I used to use the factory edge. And there's still some instances where I might. But I almost always put an edge on right away. Just number one, because it's my edge, right? And we all like our own stuff. But also because of the burnt factor. It's just too easy to get a burnt edge from the factory if it's done mechanically and not by hand. But I mean, you know, customizing your own blade that you're going to use, it just makes sense. It gives it a more personal kind of feel, kind of vibe, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too philosophical. I'm not really using a whole lot of pressure. It's about normal. Oh, one thing I can tell you too about this, and this is every Tojiro that I've ever dealt with. They've always been sharpened all the way back to the heel. You know, we talked about this, how some of the ones I've gotten lately have not been sharpened all the way back. Discovered it's mostly due to a bend or something. Every Tojiro, I don't care which one or whatever, the price, if it's cheap or if it's a little bit of money, they've all been all the way back to the heel without issue. Got a small little burr there. I'm going to hit the tip just for a second. Just making sure. Now we're going to deburr. Oh, man. I'm just looking at this with the old microscope. Yeah, it looks good. Looks Gouda. Gouda. Just a couple quick strokes here for deburring. I'm not going to go much because I'm going to hit it with the 2000. There's no sense in going too insane if you're going to move on to another stone. I just don't want it to be like a gougy burr on there or something. I will hit it with a 1 micron strop after this though. Okay. Now, let's move on to our final one. At least for today. I'm trying to get this done so it wasn't a super stupid long video. Because I know you guys don't like to listen to me drone on, and I apologize. I know I get a little silly. Here we go, our Shapton. Again, it's not a Kuramaku, but it is at the same time. This is the M15, the 2000 grit, which is the M series. They got the 24. I think I got a 5, the 15, and the 24 or something like that. Obviously, the number represents the millimeters, how thick it is. But this is exactly the Kuramaku line, just on a base. Okay. Let's give this bad boy a little listen. We're just kind of putting a finish on her. I gotta tell you, just the way that that feels. And those of you that have the Kuramaku 2000, you know exactly what I'm referring to. It just has that very pleasant porcelain-like feel, you know. Again, just light pressure. Just wipes right off the surface too. The little bits of buildup, not much. A very tiny little burr forming back there. We're mostly just kind of erasing these the scratch pattern from the 1K there. Ooh. Can't wait to see how this thing cuts. Okay. All right, a couple long strokes, and we're going to swap sides because we'll just move this right along. Man, it just glides. Honestly, with this and like the 5000 and the 8K and things like that, I kind of imagine that's what it would be like if you were to, not that you could, you know what I mean, not unless it had abrasive on it or something, but if you were to run a knife that you were sharpening on a piece of glass, like the dead float glass, you know, I think that's how it would, that's the best way to kind of describe how that feels. It's a little different than glass, clearly, but you know, it just kind of has that texture to it. Super smooth, and it's not like hangy, it's not catchy. Yeah. Just glides. Like it wants to cooperate, you know? I think that's a good way to put it. How many of you are excited for this giveaway? I know I'm excited. There's going to be some good stuff for you guys. Some of it I've ordered some stuff. I've got some stuff that's just in my arsenal that I'm going to give away. I got a ton of stuff. And a new car, like they do on those showcase showdowns at the Price is Right. If only, if I could do it, I would do it, I promise. All right, let's feel. A couple long strokes, I think, real quick, and we'll be gone to our deburring and then our cutting. But yeah, I've got all kinds of stuff. I've made some batches of the handle and knife wax, you know, like a board handle and knife wax, whatever. I used some of my own wax for protecting one of my carbon knives the other day. One of those Tosas, actually. it was starting to kind of rust a little bit because, you know, I've been working the crap out of those things. And those of you that saw that video, the last video here, what'd you think about those choil shots on those bad boys, huh? Man, I'm telling you, those things are insane. Like, for their price especially, like, crap. I need to sharpen one of them in a video. I'm letting the handles just kind of cure with the tongue oil and stuff, you know. All right, edge leading, and then a little backtrack. Actually, real quick, I'll make sure this burr is just peeled away there. They sharpen as they are, because like I said, they kind of come to that V. They do that whole, I don't want to call it a zero edge, because it's not, but essentially it could be, you know. Oop, tried to cut in the stone there. That's telling me something good. I bet you this thing cuts like a dream. It's kind of like VG10 on steroids, basically. That's kind of the gist of what I've understood. Bird Dog told me that that's what he read, and then I looked up a little bit more on it, and yeah, it's kind of like VG10 on steroids and then some. Yeah, I'm really excited to use it because I want to use it for like some food shit, you know. Go up and do some dinner prep. I am gonna need to wash that off. Holy crap. All right, bring you guys up to the tippity top. Make sure we still got volume down there. I'm gonna look at this real quick with my little Carson microscope. Make sure we are burr free. You and me. For the most part, I think there's a little bit hanging on maybe. It could be this glare. I've noticed this thing shoots off a heck of a lot of glare. I'm going to use this Hutsul strop real quick. I'm going to use the suede side. And then I'm going to use the 1 micron diamond side. Man, it feels like there's something on there. I can tell by the way it pulls and catches sometimes. Like if you take the knife, right, and you run it like this normally, I know sometimes there's a big burr on there that's maybe even stubborn. It'll kind of get in there and it'll try and take the knife in a certain way, and it doesn't want to just smooth flow. And then I know it's gone when it just starts smooth flowing. And I think it's smooth flowing. So I just want to make sure this thing's perfect. I want to represent it proper. All right, now we're on to the diamond side here. Getting some nice drag action. Waka. Yeah, I think we're pretty well burr free, baby. All right, we'll just try that and see what happens, right? All right, guys, had a small little power blip. We're back, so had to get everything restarted and whatnot, get everything rolling and blah, blah, blah. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and do the cut test. So remember, we did the 400 grit Naniwa Chocera Pro. We did the Morihei Hishiboshi Hi 1000 grit, which by the way means fire series, or that's what they call it, their fire series. I didn't know that actually. Anyway, so the Morihei fire series 1000 grit, and the Shapton M15 2000 grit, which is essentially the Kuramaku 2000. So, and we stropped it on our Hutsul's plain leather on the suede side, and then the smooth side had the 1 micron Richmond diamond spray. So here we go. She be shoppage. Little poosh. Little poosh. Let's see, I'm curious. Cutting it in 2 spots at once. All right, here we go. The moment I've been waiting for. Dun, 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 dun. Versus paper towel, baby. Oh. Oop, I tore that at the bottom. Yeah. Oops. So, she a bishop. Yeah, Tojiro. They make some good stuff. I'm so far liking the R2. I cannot tell you about its durability rating. Don't know. It's sharpened extremely easy. But I'll be honest, when I sharpened HAP 40, it sharpened the exact same way. I did not have a problem with it. And HAP 40 isn't a pain in the ass to sharpen. But that in mind, I'm going to use this for a while, and I'm going to see how long it lasts, the edge, and how, you know, if I need to fine tune it or whatever. So, reminder, be sure that you are a subscriber of the channel and that you leave a comment. You have a few weeks to leave comments. The more comments, the more entries you're going to have for this particular giveaway. Don't just type bullshit, like just certain letters or whatever. Like, contribute a little bit, you know, even if it's constructive criticism, whatever. Couldn't get that out apparently. But yeah, and then you'll be entered into the 1K giveaway. Tons of stuff I'm giving away, guys. So I appreciate y'all. I would not be able to do this if it was not for your support. I thank you for tuning in and watching me every week. I'm going to keep trying to bring you guys some good stuff, finding deals and all the fun stuff out there. But in the meantime, be certain that you are safe this 4th of July weekend. Don't burn your eyebrows off or, or set the yard on fire. I've done that before. And I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys roughly on Sunday. Peace.